How do I know that? Because of that. Please feel free to confirm that you will be part of this. I know the last training we did via Zoom, I forgot to hit record, so making sure we're all set. With that being said, we will have space, of course, for a couple bio/brain breaks. If this is like the middle of you trying to get a bite to eat right now, feel free to eat. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, I gotta hide that I'm eating. Please feel free, because food is fuel, and I don't want you guys running on E. Other than that, that's all I got. Amy, Sketch, anything I miss? Or is it safe for you guys to take it away?
One thing, does everybody have something to write with, and like some paper or Google Doc or something, because we do want you to be taking notes. This isn't going to be a information heavy training, but I do think there are some important takeaway points, and we would like you to take those notes. If you were with us at the start of the year, you had folders to upload your notes to within the Google Drive. If you're new or you're like, Sketch, what are you talking about? I will happily walk you through that. But we want you to be taking notes so that you can look back over these. And if you upload them, the perk there is that we also have them, and you're not losing it. It's already there, and we can all know what everybody knows. If we ever need to go over that in trainings or coaching or talking one-on-one or anything, we're not reinventing the wheel or repeating ourselves. So go for it, Amy.
Really quick, I'm going to share my screen, and can you hear me? Yes, okay. And make sure that everyone understands what Osahan was requesting we do. So I'm going to share it. Share. No, that's not what it was. That's not what I wanted. Hold on. Why can't I stop sharing? That's not what I wanted. Why did it do that? I don't want my desktop. All right, y'all. Maybe Zoom won't let me share my Zoom screen. I don't know why. This is the one I want. Thank you.
Did that work?
I think so. All right. So I'm gonna close. No, that's yours. That's your
weird.
chat.
Okay.
Yeah, right? It's not letting me share the.
So what you're going to do,
you're going to go to the top of your screen, of the Zoom recording screen. You're going to hover over your face or yourself or whatever. On the right-hand side, there should be a blue mute button and a blue 3 dots. And you want to click on the 3 dots. Up pops a menu. At the very bottom of the menu is rename. And you're going to select rename, and you're going to add your school site after your name. Okay, and then you're going to click on the blue rename button, and your school site should pop up with your name. As you see, mine says coach and curriculum developer, or coach and curriculum.
This is also where you can blur your background and do anything else that you need to make this comfortable for you, since we do want people to have their cameras on if possible.
In the meantime, he got word that he has been tested or has been.
All right. Anything else from any of our support folks before we get started?
I thought he sent us a text that stated
We got pens, we got paper. Awesome. All right. Yeah, I see some notebooks as we're getting started. All right. So I am going to go ahead and present. We're going to be doing one topic per day, y'all. So hopefully this isn't going to be quite as dense as we've had in the future, and that'll really allow us to focus on these different points. So here, going over to my screen, and I will share.
on one day.
Share screen. So welcome to our first day of winter break training. We are going to be talking today about team chemistry and composition and just kind of getting more deeply into that. We talked about this at the start or at the end of our fall break trainings last time. And we really talked about like, oh, it's important to communicate, you know, what are the things that you do? But I also think that it's really important as we are both, you know, tutors and mentors, there is a lot about like getting to know yourself and what you're good at and what you want to grow in. So with that, I have a little activity to start us off. So perfect timing for those of you who are eating. I would like you to go to just type in slido.com. And we're going to take 3 minutes and I want you to reflect and just describe, you know, what's the best working relationship you've ever had in a job? Could be, you know, a good relationship with a supervisor, could be a good team that you were a part of, but I want you to describe a little about what that was like for you. I believe this will be anonymous. So go ahead and I will keep that code on the screen.
And it also mentions accommodations for extra from other colleagues that you could be. Oh, okay. There is a cue sheet.
And in those 3 minutes, I'm just going to stop sharing so that I can get this pulled up.
Constant Southwest. If you've been impacted by a flight cancellation or a significant flight delay between September 24th and January 2nd, you may submit receipts for consideration via email us on Southwest. I'm gonna send, okay, good. So they should. Good, okay. Yeah, okay. I still think that you should be entitled to more than just $25. For that return because that ticket probably costs more than that, or you get 25,000 each. If Benjamin got a full refund for both the flight here and the flight home, and they were kind of expensive flights, just based on the time. In addition to that, so, I know, I'm sure, it's not what, but it's more important to be thankful for what did happen. I mean, you were able to get home. You weren't stuck in an airport for 5 days with no change of clothes.
Has everyone been able to at least enter that code and get started? All right, I'm going to give us 2 minutes because I know it might take some time and I do want you to reflect and be deliberate about this. All right, let me give the code in the chat. It is. So you're going to go to slido.com. Oh, you're on your phone. All right. So it's slido.com. And the code is 1150086.
Now, how do you go to the airport and then so sorry if I canceled, that was done, but sometimes you gotta check in 24 hours. And then the fact that on the 30th, on the 29th, they sent him a message.
And let me share my screen. Thank you to those of you who have already responded. I really appreciate it.
From Philadelphia to Atlanta to Denver to Orange County. 13 hours and 2 connections. And who can count on whether or not this connection will happen, right? And yeah, he's really gonna do that. And so yes, he did get.
So one who can share good things and bad things for the overall growth of the team. one where the supervisor was incredibly respectful of work-life boundaries, group of coworkers becoming close and tight-knit. There was second family, looked forward to seeing them every day, friendly and willing to lend a hand, supervisors taking a chance on you, being motivated to be the best you could at the job, respect for life balance. And all right, hang on. I'm seeing some more come up here. I really like this because it allows us to just see so much of what other people are saying and thinking rather than just doing 2 or 3 share outs and not getting to hear everyone's story. Starting here at Keep, learning, to not apologize for being sick and having to miss work, collaborating and solving a big problem together that had arisen at a school site. So there's that theme of boundaries, which we are going to continue to talk about all through this semester. But I'm also seeing this idea of, playing to each other's strengths, someone just said, and understanding each other. And the goal of this training in particular is going to be to break down that idea of understanding each other into kind of some key parts. And then we're going to have a breakout activity at the end where you get to talk with your group and maybe you'll get to learn something new because I think the more that you know about each other, the more that you will be able to succeed at different sites. And everybody's different. So one of the themes that I'm seeing in here also is just that every person's most positive working relationship is going to be different because, none of us are one size fits all. So thank you all so much for sharing already. Does anybody who maybe hasn't been able to use the Slido have anything that they want to share out? We can maybe take a couple of those if you want to add to it.
We went out to New York to come to football.
Awesome. So we're going to break down this idea of playing to each other's strengths into sort of 3 main pieces. And as I come back over here to our draft, we're going to talk about the first one. So when you talk, actually, I want to hear from a couple of people. So in 1 or 2 minutes maximum, when we talk about like playing to people's strengths, what do you think, like, how do you decide what a strength is? How do you know that? How do you name those? Or what is a strength to you?
The good news was that they did, when your lucky doesn't come, the airline normally will deliver it. And it will come to your doorstep, but you don't know how long that's going to be. But we also didn't have all of our clothes in there.
Can we volunteer a couple people? Oh, go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it, Jorge.
I think organizations are very good. My bad. But organization is very important for me, especially because I'm not very good at remembering or just organizing myself. So when I see someone who can do it and they volunteer to kind of help us out, I feel that's very amazing strength and very important strength for what we do.
Gotcha. So one of the ways that you see strengths is like, you notice that somebody is good at something that you struggle with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Trinity, go for it.
Thank you. 2 of the biggest strengths that I admire and I've noticed is 1, being able to delegate one's powers evenly or when necessary. And another one would be being able to compromise. I feel like when you're working in a group, especially or with a team, to be able to compromise and put everybody's needs as a whole first, it makes things flow really easily.
Gotcha. Yeah. And those are things that take practice, of course. And I think that's going to segue really well into sort of our first piece of what makes up your team chemistry. So with every individual in our team, one of the first pieces I think here is skills. And skills can mean so many different things, but I'm just going to make it really, really simple with a question. What do you know how to do? You may have heard of this idea of like hard versus soft skills. Show of hands, who's familiar with this? Awesome. Paige, how would you define hard and soft skills?
Can everybody hear me okay? Oh, do we have audio? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So hard skills I define as anything technical. So you have on here using a computer program. So hard skills, knowing Java or HTML, and knowing how to do a skill technical performance. Soft skills would be anything having to do with interacting with others. So knowing how to talk to people, being nice. That's one that a lot of people I have met struggle with. So yeah, that's kind of my definition. That's all I can think of right now.
Yeah, definitely. Those hard skills are those concrete things. They're technical, they've got steps and techniques to them. And those soft skills are a little bit more open. So like thinking creatively, making difficult decisions, staying organized. I think as you were talking about knowing how to compromise, Trinity, that's absolutely a soft skill. And so is staying organized. Like Jorge was mentioning. So we're going to go over a few here. If you could tell us a little, Amy, about just how different skills that may show up in tutoring. And even if you don't think that they're like directly related to tutoring or ways that they might connect. And before we do that, one piece that I think is not on here is that this might be places where you think about prior work experience. Like I would say that knowing how to handle the logistics of picking up and dropping off, pickups and drop-offs with students is definitely a skill. Or knowing how to have conversations with parents, that's a skill. Not everybody comes in with those skills. So it's one of those things to take stock of as you look at who's on your team and what they know how to do. And with that, I'm going to move here to our next slide.
All right. So if you notice on the left-hand side, we have hard skills, such as speaking a language, using a computer program, performing CPR or first aid, practice an art, lead an icebreaker, facilitate listening circles. So some of these you may or may not have learned how to do at other jobs, right? Using a computer program or using Google, for example, you may have learned at school. Performing CPR first aid, if any of you have ever been a lifeguard, you would learn that skill there. All of these things can be translated into working here at Keep. For example, using a computer program. We have a couple of different computer programs accessible to us at Keep. The one we use the most is Google Suite, of course, which is Gmail, Google Drive, all of that. Y'all, I hope, are familiar. If not, reach out to Sketch and I, and we'll go ahead and help you learn how to use that. Then we also have something that we actually haven't been using. I'm not sure if we're going to continue to use it, but Ring Central and or Google Voice, whichever one you use at your site for parent contact. Then we have GatherTown, which is where we keep a lot of our org information. So different programs have libraries of a wealth of information up on GatherTown. If you do not know how to use GatherTown, where to go to get it, again, reach out to Sketch and I feel like at this point, I'm either a Disneyland ride operator or a salesperson. But seriously, reach out to Sketch and I. Now, the soft skills, those are the ones that people have a harder time. One, identifying, first and foremost. Two, figuring out how soft skills from one job can apply to another. So I'm going to give you a personal example that I've had. That would be waitressing. Raise your hand if you've ever been a server, a waiter, server, whatever you want to call it. Anybody? Anybody aside from me? Yeah, we got a couple people there. I saw some hands go up. Right? All right. So y'all can put your hands down. So those of us who have been in wait service, and this is true for a lot of fast-paced environments, but specifically wait service, we're used to fake smiling at people even when they're screaming at us. Because I don't know about you, but if you've ever gotten somebody's food order wrong, they get mad. I'm just saying. I've actually had situations where I've had children throw up on me in a restaurant in the middle of my shift, and that's happened twice, not once, twice. And I'm talking threw up on me, not just threw up, and I had to it threw up on me. So I had to manage that, right? This is what has developed my ability to manage crisis situations very well, right? It's taught me how to stay calm. There are a couple other traumatic situations that happened in my early life that helped me to really be able to calm down in a crisis situation involving some accidents. But really, it was becoming a waitress or server, whatever term you would like to use. Because as a server, depending on where you're at, you can have up to 10 tables stacked with 4 people each, and you need to remember all their needs. You need to anticipate their needs. You need to do all of these things. So that helps a lot when dealing with all kinds of students, right? In a tutoring help me out, y'all. I can't talk today. In a tutoring session, you have multiple tables of different age students and students with different needs. And it's very similar to being a server at a restaurant and having to remember what each table ordered, any allergies that are there, what their drinks are to get them automatic refills so you can get that tip, all of that kind of stuff. That's how serving can translate. But let's talk about my other things that I've done. How about audio technician, right? I've been a recording arts technician for probably longer than some of you have been alive, but for like 21 years. Yeah, I started when I was 14. So there are a lot of things that's a technical skill. That's a hard skill because you have a lot of cable set up, a lot of software usage. And that has helped me learn how to make the students think that something was their idea, which is really key in developing relationship and in letting them feel like they have agency, right? So that whole idea of giving them the illusion of choice. So like they do get a choice, but it's either read or finish their homework, right? Those are their 2 choices. So they get a choice. It's one or the other, right?
And we will be talking more about structured choice and using that as a technique when we do our training on Thursday.
Exactly. So there are a lot of different ways, and maybe you can think and begin to think outside of the box about previous jobs you've had, or about your major, right? Maybe your major in school doesn't line up with tutoring per se, but there are skills, there are transferable soft and hard skills from, I'm thinking anywhere that could translate into tutoring. The easiest one for me to probably express to y'all is some of y'all are in art, you're into arts, right? And you're fine arts majors or whatever arts majors. And art lessons can teach kids very specific things that they should be learning according to Common Core. 2 of those I can name off the top of my head are following instructions, right? You teach your students how to do something that helps them learn how to follow instructions. And they get to see the direct outcome of following instructions. The second is fine motor skills. A lot of our students have been on computers and only on computers because they've been learning virtually for a long time. So fine motor skills such as having the hand structure to write neatly, right? Coloring in the lines, cutting along lines, those are fine motor skills that our students need practice with. So you can take art, your art major, you can create a lesson plan based on art that involves following instructions or fine motor skills or both. And that's how you can directly apply your major to tutoring. So with that, we're going to move on to interests and passions, handing it over to Sketch.
Yeah, and before we go there, I just want to say flat out, the cool thing about everybody coming in with different skills is that even if you have never tutored before, there are already things that you know. There are already things that you can bring to a team. And I'd actually, as I'm moving to the next slide, I'd like to hear from some people in the chat. What do you notice as hard skills or soft skills that you've used in tutoring?
In 2 minutes or less, 1 or 2 volunteers.
Or maybe a skill you've used that surprised you. Go for it, Yannette. I cannot hear you, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have a lot of people on the call, so if you're unable to unmute,
won't
go
let
ahead
you
and type it in the
unmute.
chat. Go ahead and type it in the chat, Yannette.
While Yannette's typing it in the chat, Kevin, go ahead.
You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I've learned that whenever a student has an issue, like a problem, they do it incorrectly. I say like, yeah, like I introduce it that they did a really good job on this part, but it's just one little small spot that they need to fix. So it's kind of like a psychological kind of trick to get them to like fix that little small spot when they make a little mistake.
That sounds like the skill of maybe going step by step, starting with
Yeah.
positive praise and then learning how to correct
Yeah.
a student. Okay,
And then like
yeah.
take it by parts, yeah.
Breaking things into parts, absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Kevin. Anyone else, as Yannette is typing, notice a hard or soft skill that they've applied to tutoring? I think this is really important to talk about because there's really no, this is the only definitive guide to how to tutor. It's based and how to mentor. That's based on who you are as a person. Celebrate it is, yeah, really important. And Yannette says, my Spanish, it's crazy how much I need to translate, and I get to kind of teach that to some of the students. Thank you for sharing that, Yannette, because that also, can anybody think of an R of restorative justice that could connect to? Anybody want to share out or maybe put it in the chat what they think? I'm going to say that is probably going to connect to relationship building because you get to connect with those students on a different level. If you're teaching them some Spanish or if it's also a form of reintegration, helping them to be a part of the community where maybe they've felt isolated or not included. So thank you for sharing that. And I have talked enough about skills. So like Amy said, let's move on. So the other piece here that I think is important is interests and passions. So our question for this, what fuels and excites you? I would say in a huge number of interviews, as I included, have had this feeling of, I love the light in a kid's eyes when they finally understand something. And that's awesome. I think that's oftentimes a thing that rewards people and keeps them coming, day after day. And I'm also wondering what other interests and passions there might be. So for some people, I know a number is getting experience in a classroom for the future. Many of you are also of lived experience. I've heard a lot of people talk about wishing that they could provide the mentoring that they didn't have. And so being able to give back to your community. If you're an alum of Pomona Unified, if you want to support foster youth because you've had that experience, you want to support first gen kids because you've had that experience, and so on. And sometimes it could be something like getting to be creative, getting to think on your feet, getting to be in a job that, everything is different day to day. I think one of the reason that I think these interests and passions are so important is because when something fuels you and something excites you, even if there are parts of it that you don't like as much, that may be something that you're still kind of gravitating towards and saying, ooh, I want to do that, or I want to focus on this project. Some of you who are really passionate about the arts or really passionate about sports, you might be really excited to be the one on your team who's like, I want to, do this game with the kids at recess. I want to do this lesson. And being able to know those among each other will help you to delegate tasks in a way that's going to work well for everyone. Anybody want to share an interest or passion that's not on this list that goes along with tutoring, or how you make your interests or passions connect with tutoring? I would say for me, as a personal example, and maybe this will give you a sense of what I'm sort of talking about. As many of you know, I am hoping to be a counselor in the future. I'm in my second year of my master's program. And so I love getting to help put together mental health tips. I love helping to find resources and kind of do that research and help people to understand best practices. And so that's something that often fuels the work that I do. And I do lots of things that aren't that, but those are always the ones that excite me. Same thing with getting to do listening circles and learn how to apply some of that restorative justice work and see the differences between them. That is a passion that excites me. And Angel says, yeah, giving back to the community has been a goal for you, and you feel empowered to help the students. Absolutely. Anybody else? I think we can have a couple more people share. So we've been talking, okay, yeah. So thanks for asking. We've been talking about interests and passions. So the question is like, what fuels and excites you? And can you see any ways that it would connect to tutoring or what you do with students? And I saw, was that Jorge that raised their hand?
Yeah.
Go for it, Jorge.
I really love to learn. I didn't like the idea of school being the only place where you like get to learn, or that's the only access to it. Because I don't know about y'all, but like school was work, and then outside of school, I got to like learn all these amazing things. Well, they weren't amazing, but they were definitely different. And in tutoring, it kind of gives like the students an opportunity to learn, and then I get to learn with them, which is very exciting. because they start coming up with stuff, or they start introducing me to things that I wouldn't have known about, especially because in the area I grew up in, it was very centered around negative activity. So all this other stuff that the kids bring up, I find exciting, and it kind of just like encourages me to learn with them or to learn from them.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And that may even be one of those places where you're like, I really like the learning part of this. I really like getting to share things with kids and have them share back. And maybe that makes you say, I want to know how to do a circle with students, or I want to help have questions of the day or something like that. So we name our interests and passions, and then we figure out, how can I make that happen in our sessions? What can I do? And Rachel says, I want to become a teacher. Working with children and collaborating with teachers, principals, and office staff solidified this career decision. I feel there's no turning back now because I love what I do. And I see Chris. Go for it.
So one of the things that definitely excites and fuels me in my work with kids is diverting them away from repeating patterns of trauma. So, these things that seem so insurmountable to them, just about one of the worst things is for them to go through it alone, right? And without anybody guiding them or helping them self-regulate, because of course we're not trying to be this crutch for them. We're trying to get them to a point where they can do for themselves what they need done, right? And so building resiliency and showing them, hey, it doesn't have to be like that. That was your family culture. That was your history. That this has been your life, but it doesn't have to stay that way. You can be different. That's something that definitely excites me. I find that kids that I didn't even think I was particularly close to, not because I didn't care about them, but because, they're a little closed off or what have you, like they open up with these really horrific things, and they open up for a reason.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Chris. Yeah, so as I'm hearing these different pieces, somebody who wants to be a teacher, somebody who likes learning and getting to, put together activities with kids, someone who has this passion for helping kids not repeat trauma. Each of you could be doing something that is slightly different. Maybe someone is like, I am really excited to do lesson plans. And someone says, I feel really comfortable having these one-on-one conversations with kids. And then you can all kind of be, just different people in a team. Go for it. We'll have Trinity share and then we'll move on.
I like working with kids because they're our future. They don't have limitations yet. I feel like they really let their imagination go wild. And what's the word to use? I've said it before. Like they really feel invincible. Like they feel like they are capable of anything and everything. And I love that. I wish that more people, especially adults, had that perspective that they can really do it all. They can do everything in their power. They're capable of it all. And I love seeing that in kids. They haven't put, I guess, more realistic measures on themselves. So yeah, they're just very highly capable. And it's amazing to see who's going to guide us in the future when we're in wheelchairs or we're like the people on Wall-E. Yeah.
I'm hearing, as you talk, Trinity, I hear that little piece about, them being so imaginative and how that's something you really enjoy about them. And when we talk in our training on the 5th, we're going to talk about imaginative play. So that might be one of those things where you're like, this is something that I really like. And the cool thing about this is if someone on your team is maybe not as comfortable in that element, or maybe they don't like working with a certain age group as much, you learn to feed off of each other. And so that's why we're naming these interests and passions, because what excites you, that's what makes some of the hard stuff doable or makes you want to do it, because it's a means to this end, to this thing that you care about deeply. So thank you, all of you who have shared so far. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad that, you all know these passions. That's awesome. So we're going to talk a little more about like healthy team composition. And take it away, Amy.
Absolutely. So a big part of team competition
Composition.
with that comes. Did I say the wrong thing again?
You did.
Y'all, it's been a day. I'm telling you. I've been using the wrong. I'm reading the word on the screen and I'm still using the wrong word. That's the kind of day it is. So, positive encouragement isn't just for our students. We're going to be talking about some affirmations. Let's take about a minute and I want you to think. Don't share yet, but think about what you would like to hear one of your coworkers say to you about your work. Think about it. And the timer starts now. All right, let's wrap that up. Now, I want you to think about, and don't share this because, this is in the past. I want you to think about how many times you actually said something positive about your coworker's work. All right, so now that you've thought about that, I'm going to ask for people who have not spoken yet, 2 volunteers, to explain in under 2 minutes what R's could affirmations and these questions relate to. What R's of restorative justice could affirmations connect to? 2 people to tell me in under 2 minutes. Angel, I was literally just about to volunteer you, Angel. So Angel says relationship. That is definitely one of them. What's another one that affirmations could relate to? Respect. Respect is another one. Thank you, Callan. Absolutely. Also, what about repair? Right? If you've had some sort of conflict with a team member, it's entirely possible that beginning to affirm them and speak affirmations to them could bring repair to that relationship. So just kind of a rule of thumb that I use that you'll want to put in your own words, just to be clear, you want to be you when you say these things. You don't want to be me and you don't want to be Sketch when you say these things. You want to be you, right? So that you're genuine. But I would stick to things like, I noticed you did this today, and I think that was great, right? I would try, and I say this, and the reason I'm talking about this is because this is the biggest area of growth for me, right? I think all of y'all are awesome, and I think you all do really great things. I just don't say it as often as I should. And even as a site captain, I didn't say it as often as I should have. So I'm learning how to do that now. And I think that we all, if we can focus on what our coworkers' strengths are and what they did well, rather than just walking around annoyed at what they didn't do, which is somewhat of what I used to do. And, we focus on, that's our human nature, focusing on negatives, right? But if we take a moment in our day to see what our coworkers have done well, and to see the positive things and to speak the positive things to them. I noticed you did this and I think that was great. I noticed how you handled this situation. That was awesome, right? Then that changes not only our perspective, but it changes their perspective of us as well. And it can strengthen the relationship of the team. It can strengthen the respect level of the team. And I don't know if y'all know this, but kids notice, right? You might not think that they're picking up on the vibe that's going on between the tutors, but they notice. And so this will hopefully in a positive way affect the way your students see you interact, affect the way they see you as a team, and grow respect and relationship with your students as well. I see we have something in the chat. I'm going to read it out loud. Jasleen says, kind of off/on topic. I had a teacher in high school that would give us weekly affirmations, and it was reassuring to me that she cared enough to write something nice. Yeah, we used to do that at Lexington. We would even have the students write affirmations, and we'd put them all in a jar. They could do it throughout the week. Anytime they asked, like if they were taking a break and they were supposed to be doing something else, anytime they asked to do an affirmation, we usually let them take that moment to do an affirmation, even if it was a little break from their homework, to affirm each other. And then we as tutors we would try to go through it beforehand and see if no students had been affirmed. And if they hadn't been, we would write affirmations for those students, just to be sure that our students were being affirmed. We had a great group of students there that really liked telling each other they were awesome. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, we would do that weekly for our students, and we would read them out on Friday. So that's a good idea. You could do them daily, you could do them weekly for your students. However, don't forget your coworkers. Please don't forget your coworkers. We always say that students are little humans. We're big humans, and we need the same things as our students need. So if we're giving it to our students, we should probably consider giving it to our coworkers as well. Okay, so with that,
and on the flip side,
move on.
On the flip side, if you have trouble giving them to students, maybe the way to start is to give them to each other. It can go either way.
And moving on, that's Sketch's turn. So Sketch is gonna talk about what helps you succeed.
So far, we've talked about skills and like the things that we know how to do. We've talked about interests and passions, you know, the things that drive you, the things that help you to push through the hard times. But we're also going to talk about what helps you succeed. So I would like a show of hands. Who on this call is 100% perfect in every single way? Put that hand down, Amy.
I'm kidding. All
right. So, have we agreed that we're all human, imperfect people? I think we have. I hope we have. If not, let's talk. But, you know, needs can be these practical things, but they can also be emotional things. And I know that we've talked a lot in Keep about setting boundaries. We've talked about being whole people, all of that. I truly want you to feel like you do not have to compartmentalize in these, I'm not allowed to have needs because I'm at work kind of ways. So of course there are, you know, times and places for how to communicate this, but you know, there's practical needs. I need to be able to leave at 5 p.m. for class, or I need written instructions if there's something you're asking me to do. But there's also those emotional needs, and this goes along with affirmations, needing to know when you're doing a good job, needing to be encouraged to speak up. For me, one of my needs is, I specifically asked, I was like, I get very focused when I'm doing these training topics and I need somebody to record for me. I need some help with that. I'm working on getting better at multitasking, but I also know myself pretty well. The other thing here can be like, in terms of needs, you know, what's difficult for you and what helps you with it. So it might be, I struggle to talk with parents and I need some help, you know, and some coaching on how to do that. Or it might be, I'm a visual learner, so I need things to be presented in a clear form. And I know it can be kind of vulnerable to talk about these needs. A lot of times, you know, I think we do get treated like we have to be basically robots in terms of, you know, when you're at work, you don't get to be a person. But just like our students, we're all whole people. And so I really want to practice that asking for help and that, hey, this is what really helps me succeed. And even things like, hey, I get really anxious when I get interrupted. That can be a need, you know. This is something that kind of sets me off, and so I need some support with how to handle it, or I need check-ins. So I want you to think a little bit. You don't have to share it in the chat because, like I said, this can be kind of vulnerable, but I want you to think about what helps you to be your most successful tutor. And of course, there is also the practical piece of what is feasible at my site. What does my site need in terms of resources and such? And that is why you have a support team. So just take a minute to sit with that, what your needs might be, what helps you succeed or feel safe or know that you're doing a good job. Boundaries was a big one that I saw. And we are going to move forward while keeping this in mind. So skills, passions, needs. And with that, as we get to know these skills, as we get to know these different parts of ourselves, sometimes in a team, you can get stuck playing the same role over and over again. And you might have noticed this at your site. Like, all right, there's 4 of us here. This is the loud one. This is the nice one. This is the funny one. Okay, you're always the one who works with kindergartners. You're always the one who leads, sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Who leads outdoor time. Or this is the person who's in charge of curriculum. And while it is good to know, hey, who does what best, and know how to cover for each other, it's also really important to not just get stuck in those roles, but to learn from each other's strengths. So you don't want to just have one person be like, oh, I'm the organized person and I'm the one who keeps all of our records together. Everybody sort of needs to know how to do those things. So I'm wondering if anyone has thought of a role that they get stuck in, or where that comes from. Amy, can you think of any roles that you've ever gotten stuck in, as a member of a team?
I've gotten stuck in curriculum role. Before I was a curriculum developer here for Keep, I've been stuck in, a lot of times I get stuck in the snack role.
Why do you think that is?
The reason being that I couldn't do physical activity, so I couldn't be outside during the physical activity time for our students, and thus would be inside, and I would take my 10-minute and set up snack.
Gotcha. And what did it feel like to be sort of stuck in that role? Like, what would happen if maybe you weren't there?
I don't think it was too bad for me being in that role because I knew how to do the role. And in the beginning, I would ask people, you know, does somebody want to stay inside today? You know, switch it out. That I was always doing it. I was just the main person doing it. With curriculum, we started working together as a team. And sorry, it says my internet is unstable. So if I freeze, y'all take a screenshot and share it with me later. So with curriculum, we just started taking turns on who would do it. So each of us would take a day and a topic and then pick a lesson for that day in that topic, so that it wasn't just me doing curriculum, things like that. It wasn't, I don't feel like we were set on those roles and like nobody could do anything else. We all could do all the stuff. It was just that's how it happened because of physical limitations I had.
For sure. And maybe that ties in with needs. And hey, I need this amount of, I need this accommodation. So the reason that I talk about this is sometimes you fall into your rhythms and it's a really, really good thing. And I think it's also important to kind of look at what's going on in your team and is it working? Does everybody know how to do everything else? Or is it okay, you know how to do this and you know how to do this and you know how to do this and we don't really overlap. So it's just important, I think, as we talk about this to make sure that we're still being fluid and flexible. So for example, when we talk about age groups and relationship build, and so maybe you have someone who is awesome at working with older students and several people who prefer younger students. It's each other's things. So with that, how do we get it done?
Yeah, so I'm tackling this topic today because I'm really good at time management. Those of us who have been students and had a job, we know what it's like to have really good time management. So here we go. Whoa. Sorry, my screen just went all wacky. There we go. All right, we back. Okay. So first, I want us to talk about what is a crisis situation. As you see right there, knowing your strengths in a crisis situation. What is it? I want one or two people to share in 2 minutes or less. Go ahead, raise your hand. Let's hear from people who haven't spoken out yet about what we learned at the all staff meeting regarding crisis. I might have to volunteer some people. All right, Callan, how about yourself?
Well, who does what most effectively / helpfully in a crisis situation?
So we're going to start with like, what is a crisis?
Okay, so crises would be like if someone's injured, or if there are certain weather conditions preventing us from doing the things we need to do. I feel like for my team specifically, we either go with the flow or we just become very adaptive. And we just come up with stuff like right off the bat. And there's like 3 in my team who are really good at doing that. And I appreciate you guys so much. So that's all I got in my head right now.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. And one other person who was at all staff training, tell me what a crisis looks like to you.
Thank you, Karina. Crisis varies from person to person and what they define as a crisis. We can't determine what a crisis is for someone else.
Exactly, Karina. Exactly. So we are not sure what's going on at other sites. We're not sure. I don't mean us, we are always in the know. Sketch and I do know. But our organization, our KEEP organization, we define crisis differently based on which site we're at, right? So let's have like 3 people just shout out 1 or 2 words in under 2 minutes about what a crisis could be. No examples, please, just what a crisis could be at a school site.
Low staff.
Okay, low staff could be a crisis at a site. Injury, I see Vanessa. Physical
Sarah.
injury, yep, Vanessa and Sarah. And anything else? All right, so, occupied classroom, emotional distress. Yes, those are both good examples. So during a crisis situation, whatever that looks like at your site, okay, you need to know what your strengths are in a crisis situation and who does what most efficiently or helpfully. So for example, maybe the situation is that you have an occupied classroom and you didn't know until you got there that you have an occupied classroom. So you're going to need to do something. At Lexington, we would meet our students outside of the cafeteria. We were in there and we would have them line up, and then we would play a game or have a conversation while one of us went and arranged a different classroom for us. So we would play to strengths. Paige at the time probably still is. They are really good at engaging students in conversation and at playing different get to know you games. So they would do that sometimes. Various things like that. So you want to, when a crisis happens, flip a switch, and whoever does what most efficiently, hopefully you're like Gumby and Bendable, can switch into doing what they do most efficiently so that the crisis can be managed much better. I see a few things here. Let's see. Low staff, injury, physical injury, emotional distress, occupied classroom, police activity. Yeah, Monica, that can be a challenge, having police activity at your site. Inclement weather, majority of students getting sick or not eating supper. Actually at Lexington, toward the middle of the school year, we had a student who was struck by a car right outside of the school. And that was a crisis to manage on a lot of levels, not just because they were struck by a car out front of the school, but because a lot of our students knew this student, and there were a lot of inaccurate stories of what happened going around. So we had to manage that crisis, not just in the moment, but after the fact. We switched up a couple of things, and I sat down with the students who knew that student and had a conversation with them, right? So all of these things go into crisis management, right? Sketch and I, when we have different crises, somebody calls out sick, we have to play tutor Tetris. You know, Sketch is really good at knowing what tutors have different strengths and weaknesses, and knowing their personalities really well. He does that really well. I don't know if y'all know that, but he does it really well. And I understand a lot of the academic strengths of tutors. So then we're gonna, I lost my train of thought. So I will say, well, what about this, right? This person's good at this, and Sketch will be like, yes, but they're a better fit here. And we'll go back and forth like that. We know what each other's strengths are, and we work together to find solutions to problems. So talking about all that, when a crisis happens, there are some Google tools to help depending on the crisis. There's tasks, which is by far one of my favorite things in the whole world. In Google Tasks, I have like 4 different types of tasks. I've one for each position that I take on here at Justice for Youth. And I'll put down the tasks that need to get done. Tasks, as Google, you can have it on your phone and add tasks on your phone, put a timer on them, and make sure they get done that day. And then messages. So Google Messages. Look, I know we tell you all, right, not to be on your phones with the students. I think we can all agree that that is kind of null and void during a crisis. If you need to communicate with each other without students hearing or knowing what you're talking about, use text, use your phone. That's acceptable. And then my personal favorite on how to get it done, workspace. We would like to eventually in the future have a little lesson on how to use workspace effectively. I would recommend including your coordinator or a member of the resource team so that you can easily reach out to one of us in the event that something happens. But in Workspace, not only can you add tasks to a list, but you can assign those tasks to different people, right? So there's that. And then calendar. So I have a calendar template that is just a Google Sheets that has all the months on it as tabs, and you are welcome to use that. I believe it's in resources. Yeah, it's in the resources tab. And then there's also Google Calendar. Google Calendar is a little harder to work with on a site, only because you got to be sure that you're putting it on your site's calendar and not your personal calendar. I can't tell you how many times I've done that, or vice versa. I put a doctor's appointment on an org-wide calendar one time, not here at Justice for Youth, but at another organization, accidentally, because I wasn't paying attention to which calendar I was editing. So just be aware of that and be careful with that.
The beauty of calendar is that, like, if you know, okay, I've gotten this day off approved, you can make sure that your entire team knows that and have it displayed there and just be ready to go. You could even use a workspace and say, hey, site captain's out on this specific day, so what are all the tasks that people are going to do? And that may help with delegation, which I know someone mentioned previously as one of their soft skills that they're working on.
Yeah.
So lots of different ways to use these.
Yeah, there are a lot of different, and again, I'm pushing a plug here. Gonna go back to Disneyland Ride Operator. If you should have any trouble want to learn how to work any of these things, please reach out to Sketch and I. We can help you with that. We're your resource team. That's what we're here for. With that, moving right along to the next slide, which is for Sketch.
Yeah. So really, I think this speaks for itself, that good working relationships put all of this together. We talked a lot in the fall about communication and how important that is. And I think it's not just about like how frequently you communicate, but really learning to understand each other on this level and know what somebody's going to be passionate and excited about, and know what somebody's going to be able to jump right into doing, and just recognizing, you know, what are all of the pieces of this team made up of people? So that's why I am always encouraging people to, you know yourselves. We do have a keep tool belt checklist that many of you who have started this fall have done. And I would love to go over that with anyone who has been here for a while and really just kind of wants to look at that. It really goes into a lot of those skills. So we are gonna move on and we're gonna do a breakout activity. So we're gonna split by site and we're gonna have a conversation about these skills, these interests, and these needs. Site captains, thank you so much for volunteering. I saw a couple of you added in. So we are going to assign, we've got those breakout rooms and I'm going to open them. And you're going to join the room labeled for your site. And some of our site captains will be facilitating this, and the rest will be myself, Osahan, Presley, and Angel. So let me open our breakout rooms. These are just examples of the kinds of questions that we may be asking. So, you know, sharing 3 interests or skills that aren't work related. Parts of Keep sessions you enjoy, or the part that is hardest for you. And then, because, you know, we're always flexible, there's always things to learn, what you want to grow in as a tutor or mentor. So I'm going to open up our breakout room. Open all rooms. And let's see. Can you currently choose your own rooms? Here, let me make them choosable. Breakout rooms. All right, I'm sorry, we have to have a minute for them to close, apparently. So as I'm doing that, I'm wondering if anybody has any questions, comments, thoughts that have come up from this training so far, as we talk about these different pieces of team chemistry and breaking that down. All right, options. Allow participants to choose rooms. Boom, there we go. So now you should be able to change your room. Broadcast. Did that work? Yes, I'm seeing people hop into their rooms. Wonderful. And I'm going to broadcast these 3 questions. And site captains, I will be sharing with you a list of some more questions, but you can start with these for sure. So let's see, chat, all members, everyone in meeting. Okay. So All right, let's see. So rooms are open. Please join your room. I see like 10 people still joining that, and then we will come into the ones that do not have a captain. Let me stop sharing my screen and share that link with our site captains who are helping facilitate. Oh, you don't see an option to join? It should still be there. Here, let me assign you. All right, no worries. All good, I'm getting it. Karen, you are at Madison, right? Say
Ranch Hills.
Ranch Hills. Oh, my bad. Here, let me move you back over to Ranch Hills. And then Angel press. All right. Okay. So I need to share the list, and then we need to split up the rest of the sites. Here, from all of these different debriefs, just because I think that that really goes to speak for how people want to grow. And that allows us also as a team to check in and maybe work on some of those specific things. Hey, y'all decided that you wanted to do a debrief time during a CSA. How's that going? And I want that to be one of the main focuses this, at least for our side for training and such this coming year, is just like meeting people where they're at and then helping them to move, past that, because we've all got places that we can grow. So that pretty much does it for this topic today. Does anybody have any questions or something before we move to a couple announcements from Angel and Osahan? If you ever want to talk about this in more depth, or you're like, I don't know what my strengths are, or I want to work on these things, come say hi. I am happy to have a conversation with you. Amy's happy to have a conversation with you. I'm sure Angel and Osahan would be delighted to have conversations with you. So you got your whole pick of the team. All right. Osahan, would you like to make your announcement?
I was just going to say, Osahan or Angel, who's going first?
Rock, paper, scissors.
I can go first. Okay. First off, happy to see everybody. It's nice to see everyone and hear from everybody for today's training. Please let us know if you guys are going to be able to make it to tomorrow's and Thursday's trainings. That'd be very much appreciated. If you send us an email if you can, sorry. And then also please let us know, or please let me know about you guys' schedules, as I'm still missing a couple of you guys. And also just a big announcement and a reminder that next week, the 9th and the 10th, when we come back and start tutoring, well, the 9th, 10th, and 11th are going to be early release days. So you need to be there earlier and on time, okay? Acting like those days are Wednesdays meetings. Sounds good. Also, our site meetings will be moved to those recording times as well, okay? And they will be commencing next week when we start. Cool. That is all my announcement.
It's all you, Osahan.
Howdy, everyone.
Yes, Jose, there will be a meeting this Friday. Oh, this Friday. I'm sorry. Maybe not this Friday. I forgot what day it was today.
Oh, no, this Friday.
Oh, this Friday? Okay.
Yeah, for the all staff meeting or keep all team meeting. Yeah, this Friday. I just totally had a brain crash. This is not my afternoon. Okay, here we are. Yes, we're back at it. Really only announcement I have, and forgive me y'all for my my slackness on this. I realized I had an email concerning this situation on my, no, will not be in person, Trinity. It'll be virtual. Sitting in my drafts. So here we are. Some of you maybe have noticed, or maybe, I'm sorry, backtrack. Hopefully, y'all knew that we were looking for a program coordinator 1 position to fill. And some of you, I actually tapped on the shoulder to see if you'd be interested. So we searched high, we searched low, did several weeks of interviews, and we found our person. And that would be Presley Fuentes. So if you noticed on Presley's name here in the meeting that it said every school, that's because of Presley's new role. So congratulations, Presley. Do you have your speech prepared? JK Presley, no speech needed. You're good. You're good. No speech needed. But yeah, feel free, guys, to congratulate her. Presley will, you should see Presley's face popping up at your sites over the next few weeks, doing visits, getting to know y'all. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with Presley, Presley previously was a tutor at Armstrong. And so grateful to have Presley be a part of the team and grateful to have her now helping out in this capacity. Do you have anything you'd like to say, Presley? Doesn't have to be a speech.
Thank you. My laptop literally just died right when you announced me, so I apologize. I had to join by my phone, but I already met some of you guys. It's really nice to meet you guys. I am the new coordinator. I'm hoping to meet you guys the first week, if not like a couple weeks after that, but we will meet eventually. But thank you so much. I'm super happy to be in this position.
Right on. Thank you again, Presley, for saying yes. If you had said no, I would have made you say yes anyways. Just kidding. That being said, that's the only announcements I have. Anything else from your corner of the world, Sketch or Amy?
Just to kind of recap and remind everybody, tomorrow is data training for Go School Box. So please be present and don't monkey see, monkey do. I will not be there, unfortunately. I have other plans, but y'all show up for the Go School Box training. Trying to get you guys some hours. The time tomorrow, Osan, it's the same time, yes?
Yep, same time. Before the Go School Box folks hop on and do their thing, I will have a thing or two to say. Just to a little bit of the why behind data and some of the impact of that. So yes, the usual 1 to 3:30.
Yes. And then following Thursday will be another training from Sketch and myself. And do we have anybody else lined up for that, Sketch? Is anybody jumping in to?
I think it's the 2 of us.
Just
But
us?
we're focusing on relationships at every age. So kind of going with some of that child development and stuff, but really focusing on practical skills and things that you can learn to work with those different groups. So looking forward to that.
And just to make this more interesting and more of a conversation rather than just me talking to my armpit, do we have any bonus trainings this week? Extra credit trainings, volunteer trainings.
I do not believe, oh, do we?
Oh, no. But I was going to say slight change about tomorrow. Training will be from 1:30 to 3:30. Give y'all that extra half hour to get your lives together, get a snack, whatever that looks like, but it'll be from 1:30 to 3:30 tomorrow.
So we are not going to offer the workspace training?
I believe we're going to hold off on that until our next professional development day.
All right then, y'all.
All
Same
right.
bat time, same bat channel.
Thank you everyone for attending. I will get these videos edited and uploaded so that if you want to come back through them or you know people who missed them, we can get that sorted out.
Also, quick question, Ozan, because it is now 3, not 3:30. Is there anything you would like them to do for a half hour or just clock out?
Yeah, actually, for those of y'all who did not finish your emergency plan for your sites, now would be a great time to do that.
And feel free, by the way, captains, to collaborate with your team on doing that. You can share the doc with them and share a doc with them and get their feedback and all that. So, yeah,
Awesome.
not a else. Not a else.
All right, y'all.
All right.
Let's see your day.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Have a great one.
You too.